Good afternoon to all of you, and thank you for spending time with us this afternoon on a very important topic that's close to many of us, right? And the impact of artificial intelligence on how we work, live, and play, right? Before we get started into talking about the deep diving into this topic, maybe it would be good for each of us to sort of introduce a bit about ourselves, what we do, and how artificial intelligence relate to your lives. Maybe we can kick off with Evans.
Hello, my name is Evans. I am the CEO of Petcubes. We are a Singapore fresh food manufacturer for dogs and cats. We use AI in many aspects of our business, from customer facing all the way to the back end. So we can share a little bit more experience about how is it for small, medium enterprises adoption of these AI technologies in their daily operations.
So hello everyone, very happy to be here as well. So my name is Alvin. So I run the enterprise AI at UOB and the innovation group. So in this role, my core responsibility is on AI delivery. So I work with my businesses, my business stakeholders to bring AI solutions to them, their everyday challenges to create value for the bank. I also oversee our data science platforms. So making sure that they're aligned with the bank's strategic AI goals, making sure they're properly governed, and making sure they're well utilized. Right, so beyond the tech, I'm also quite involved in the governance and people side of things, making sure that we deliver our AI initiatives, responsible AI, making sure that they are delivered safely and responsibly, and also upskilling our people and fostering a culture of AI fluency and innovation. So right now, I'm more focused on a couple of more strategic initiatives, namely in terms of driving GenAI adoption across the bank. So it's really fundamentally transforming how the bank wants to serve our customers, how we're reimagining the processes to unlock new revenue streams and efficiencies.
Hi, I'm Johnson from IMDA. My team helps enterprises transform with AI and data, from strategy to implementation. Our focus really is in building real capabilities, scaling adoption, as well as ensuring that AI and data is adopted in a responsible as well as inclusive manner.
So as you can tell, right, we have really a diverse, a group of experts here to lend different perspectives, right? We have Evans representing the SME sector, Alvin from the large bank, large enterprise sector, policy, wonk among us in Johnson, and as for myself, I'm from NCS, and we are trying to support all of you in the implementation of new technologies like AI to embed intelligence, right, in your core business processes, government workflows, and above all, in our human experiences. AI is really, the talk of the town these days, right? If you go to any conferences, right, you probably spend every other sentence, or at least 2/3 of the agenda topics, is all centered around, what is AI, how to apply AI, and how to mitigate some of the risks and challenges coming out from it. So we have, a number of topics that we will want to go through in the course of this podcast. So let us start perhaps with the first one then. It's often said that, AI is rather expensive, right? And only for large companies, right? Like Alvin's, right? It takes a long time, right? To get some return on investments. And also at the same time, the technology is moving so fast and gets obsolete very fast, right? And all these definitely just pose a huge amount of challenges, right? To SMEs or anyone, starting on this journey. Maybe to kick off this topic discussion, we can turn to Johnson, right? To paint perhaps the lay of the land a bit, right, for us.
AI has moved from the edge to the engine room of businesses. In the last 5 years, AI adoption amongst large enterprises has grown from 17% to 44%. Tech and finance are leading the way, while sectors such as manufacturing and hospitality are fast catching up. The impact is real. 96% of large enterprises and 93% of SMEs using AI saw productivity gains. 2/3 of the large enterprises also are able to cut operational costs with AI. But SME adoption overall remains modest. The potential is huge. We just need to help more of them get on board. Relating to the question on whether AI is too costly, as well as just for large enterprises, I think definitely this is a misconception. In fact, it is more accessible and affordable than many think, especially with cloud tools and pre-trained models. SMEs should start small, pick a problem, use off-the-shelf tools, focus on practical value. You don't have to use cutting-edge tech. The most important thing is to use something that is simple as well as useful.
Evans, do you agree? I mean,
Yeah, I agree. From an SME perspective, costing is just one aspect. I think for SMEs, a lot of times when we are looking at adopting a new tool like AI, we don't look at things such as the cost of preparing data, because in order to adopt an AI tool, you need to feed it with enough data for them to come up with the solutions that you need based on like past or kind of inputs that you want to put into the tool for them to give you the outputs. You also need to train people within the organization to use said AI tool. I think the last but not least is about getting the mindset changes within the organization, because not many people, or rather some people are more resistant to change. So getting them on board, convincing them that this actually, even though it's short-term wise, there's more effort that needs to be put into training or learning this new tool. Eventually there's going to be productivity gains in the long term. So there's a lot of aspects that SMEs need to look at when we're looking to adopt a particular AI tool.
Yeah, AI is certainly not new, right? But what has changed dramatically, right, in the last few years is how AI has been democratized. Previously, in the pre-generative AI era, right, the effort to build AI models was very much constrained in terms of the amount of data that you can use, right, and curate and then train some of these models, right. But with the advent of all these Gen AI models, they come pre-trained, right. Someone has already done the hard work in some ways, right, to go and curate the world's internet of information, right, and build up these very highly capable general purpose AI models, right, and make it now easily available, right. And many of them are open source models. So I would argue that actually, is it true that AI is expensive? It's not true, right? AI, the cost of some of these AI models and normalized for the sort of capabilities, the innate capabilities they have, right, certainly improve significantly, right, compared in the past. Having said that, there are still, I guess, a lot of costs to be incurred, right, direct or opportunity costs or indirect costs, right, in trying to implement some of these AI models, right, and that may not be related to technology per se, as Evans, you were alluding to.
Maybe I'll chime in as well, because I agree with what Johnson and Xiaowei totally, right? So I think at UOB, we've actually seen firsthand how the SMEs can actually adopt AI effectively and also cheaply, right, affordably, right? And we have this AI Ready program, and this is powered by UOB FinLab. So what we do there, we help SMEs to start with a diagnostic review of their AI maturity. So we offer them very relevant, very practical tools that are actually grant eligible, and they require very minimal technical expertise, right? This includes off-the-shelf solutions like chatbots. It can be marketing tools. It can be document processing tools, all kinds. And importantly, they can be deployed in a matter of days and not months, right? So the cycle time is actually quite short. So I think the point here is AI doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be costly. It just needs to be relevant and right size for the business, right? And I think many of the solutions, I think IMDA would have a lot of this, right? So PSG, for example, the Productivity Solutions Grant, that's something that SMEs can tap on. I think offers up to 50% of eligible costs, up to 30,000 for local SMEs. And if businesses are looking to improve productivity, I think that's a great place to start, right? I think today's tools as well, they're a lot more modular, they're a lot more scalable as well, which means companies can actually start small and then they can expand. So they don't have to worry about obsolescence like what actually bigger companies have to worry about. So UOB actually tries to help play a connector role there as well. So we try to match our SMEs, with our tech partners. So in that sense, we're guiding them through the whole journey. So totally agree. I think AI is definitely not only for the big players. The small players can get on this. I think if the business is ready to take the next step, I think the community is there. So government, tech partners, ourselves, we're all ready to help.
Yeah, we're certainly not short of AI tools now, right? There's a real proliferation of AI startups, right? And even a lot of the big tech companies, right? They are also adding more and more sort of features, AI-based features, right, to their existing platforms and solutions. So at NCS, we've been supporting the adoption of many of these new AI models and AI tools. The issue is really about finding which of these AI features or AI solutions most good fit, right, for the problems at hand, right? One of the things that we often tell our business clients is, focus on what is the business problem to be solved, right? And then work backwards to sort of find what is the right solution. And it may not be AI,
Yes.
right? Yeah, yes, well, right? So if you only have a hammer, everything will look like a nail to you, right? So the saying goes. Maybe we can move on to the next topic, which is really about, how we can actually give more support, right, to those starting on a journey, SMEs and enterprise included, right? And how do we think about future proofing, right, in this ever changing AI landscape, right? We see how quickly the AI models have been changing, right? At one stage it was GPT. We forgot about it. GPT 3.0, 3.5 it came out, right? Not too long ago. But now you have a lot more choices out there. You have the Claudes, you have the Geminis, you have the Novas, etc. Any perspectives that you would like to share on, helping SMEs with greater adoption?
I guess the call to helping SMEs is about making AI accessible, simple, practical, and relevant. Start with real business problems, right? We don't want to apply tech for the sake of tech. Essentially, it's about providing access to tools, talent, and tech partners. Help SMEs build internal confidence, teach how to fish, how to learn, adapt, as well as grow with AI. So SMEs form the bedrock of our economy. And our goal is to help SMEs harness AI for growth and productivity. So take for instance, through IMDA's CTO as a service platform, SMEs can access to, firstly, what we call industry digital plans, in short, IDPs. These are essentially roadmaps tailored across 22 sectors, most recently updated with how AI can actually help to drive value in each of them. For example, in retail, AI can help to generate marketing content. In security, AI can help to analyze logs for the purpose of cyber incident reporting. And secondly, the platform also provides over 200 pre-approved IT solutions, including IT tools and AI tools as well, with grant to support the adoption. To date, over 3,000 companies have adopted and taken up the AI-enabled solutions on the platform, and the response have been very favorable. I think Alvin also alluded to that earlier when he mentioned the PSG grant, Productivity Solutions Grant, which is essentially the support that helps to power the adoption of these pre-approved solutions. And last but not least, the platform is also equipped with a Gen AI Navigator, a smart tool to help recommend the right solutions in office productivity, sales, marketing. Plus, there's also training that comes along with it to help companies use them effectively. Essentially, it is about making these solutions accessible, practical, as well as useful, especially for small enterprises.
Maybe to add on, from a SME perspective, when we were implementing certain AI tools, what we could do more of is maybe in terms of having industry mentors, being in place. Because as an SME, when you take on a new tool, sometimes the amount of information or the disruption to existing procedures or workflow, it may not be anticipated at the start. So when it comes in, there are certain things that needs to be reworked. You find out there are certain gaps or certain oversight that needs to be in place in order to make this AI tool effective, so as to not to cause any sort of disruption to normal flow. So I cite an example. So we adopted this AI tool in our customer service experience, this kind of like AI bot, because we get hundreds of messages a day, B2C customers coming to tell us and asking questions on, what can I feed my dog, or changes to my orders, changes to my delivery timing. So when we first had the AI bot in place, we thought it was a more plug and play kind of solution. But after a month going in, we realized that the bots were not answering some of the questions correctly. There were questions that the bots were not able to sort into the right categories, and there were questions that were getting missed out because the bots did not understand what the customers were asking. Because when we first loaded the AI solution with data, we kind of worded things in full sentences. And some customers, when they type WhatsApp messages, they don't exactly type in full sentences. So the AI bot was not able to register this kind of things. So there's a lot of trial and error that needs to come in with an industry mentor. On hindsight, would be able to tell us that, okay, when you're adopting this kind of software, there are certain things that you need to be aware of. You need to make sure that you are prepared for this kind of things, and once in a while you need to go in and make sure that there are no messages getting left out, because of what happened, there was some disruption, to our customer service, and there are negative reviews that comes about. So this are also something on hindsight we wish that we knew when we were adopting an AI tool. Yep.
Well, thanks, Evans, for sharing it. If I may just build upon some of the examples that you cited, it actually makes me think that it reminds me, right, that the implementation of AI is actually a very hyper-local thing, right? Because we are trying to embed these kind of intelligence into some of our core business processes, recognizing that many of these business processes are kind of peculiar, right, to how you run your business. So it's not so simple just to take something out of the box and then just apply it directly. To add to some examples, in NCS, we have our own call centers, and we also support other people's call centers, right? And can we just use a speech to text encoder from one of the offerings out there right away? Answer is yes, we can, but we may only get about 80% to 90% word accuracy. So what we had done ourselves is actually to build our own speech to text encoder, right? Leveraging all the different voice call logs that we have. While we say we speak English, our Singlish, right, has a lot of local terms, right, way of saying things, right, and also references, right, so if you, for example, speak to, say, Microsoft Teams, right, and say, I want to go to Yio Chu Kang, right, the Yio Chu Kang is, we've been trying it 9 out of 10 times, right, we'll not get it correct, right, and you'll go to the wrong place, right. However, right, because of the way that we are able to sort of build and fine-tune our own speech encoder, right, which is called Insight 8. We're able to interpret things like Ang Mo Kio, Shiok La, and all that kind of terms. Yeah, right, very, very well. So that's the first thing. And the second thing I think you brought up, which that resonates very, very much with me, was this mention about having the industry domain knowledge, right? So even if you have the best, in my case, Singlish speech encoder, it doesn't mean that I can quite easily bring it from the customer service center to, say, the air traffic control tower, communications use case scenario, right? Because there is a specialized set of vocabulary that's being used down there, right? So you do need that kind of vertical industry knowledge base, right, to be incorporated into your AI, right? And we haven't even talked about, all your particular workflows, right? Speech to text translation is probably just one part of a more complex workflow chain. Another good example is SAP, right? How people implement SAP, right? Or it's very different from one company to another company.
Yes.
So you do need that, hyper locality, right? You do need that also industry domain knowledge in order for AI to really have positive impact.
So totally agree, and we've gone through that process of localizing for voice to text as well. I think hyperlocality, I totally agree. The domain knowledge is important. I also add that there's actually a big sort of difference between POC and production. So actually the gap is actually quite wide. So we need to be mindful of that. But let me just come back to this, right? So I think UOB obviously is one of the biggest SME lenders out there in ASEAN. And of course, we are deeply committed to supporting our clients in terms of helping them adopt AI and of course, future-proof their businesses. And I think this again goes back to what is at the heart of this UOB AI Ready program. And maybe I'll just speak a little bit more about this program. So this is region-wide program, and it's something that we launched recently to help SMEs. And the idea there is to help them build the confidence in terms of adopting AI, because what we provide there is very structured guidance, very practical tools, and also ecosystem partnerships. So we bring them from a journey, so effectively from awareness to adoption to acceleration. And actually in Singapore, this is something that we have formalized with actually IMDA, right? There's a memorandum of intent that we signed. And I think it marks a very strong public-private collaboration to drive this AI readiness in the SME sector, which I think Johnson is very keen to drive, right? And I think it underscores the belief that I think SMEs deserve a very clear, very confident pathway to AI adoption that is supported by both the expertise, but also the ecosystem access, right? So awareness, just to give more color. So what we do there, we help SMEs to assess their AI maturity, right? So there's an AI readiness survey that we put in place. And then we'll facilitate a lot of master classes. We co-host some of the tech discovery workshops. We help the SMEs to build all this foundational understanding of AI. And we identify the business use cases for them, right? I think these sessions are meant to be very practical. They showcase the real-world applications so the SMEs can really bridge between knowledge and action. And to drive the adoption, implementation. And this again leverages on IMDA's accredited ecosystem of technology providers. So there's a lot of, we connect SMEs to a lot of the plug and play AI solutions out there. So we provide one-to-one tech advisory sessions. To Alvin's point, I think that's important for SMEs. So we really help them to identify and prioritize these use cases, right? So actually some of these plug and play solutions can actually be made available through our UOB BizSmart platform. So again, it's actually quite easy for SMEs to get started, right? So there's no heavy upfront investment that's required. So once the SMEs are ready, so what we'll do, we'll work with IMDA, our partner, right, AI Singapore as well, to help the SMEs to pilot proof of concepts. Again, there's a big difference between proof of concepts and taking to production, but it starts with the proof of concept. So once we do that and then we accelerate and scale their solutions, so we'll jointly track the outcomes. I think it's just the value add, the productivity gains. This ensures that we're not just helping them adopt AI, but actually they're growing sustainably, so they can actually see the business impact, right? So of course, we also help them in terms of the upskilling part. I think it goes beyond just the tech. That's where UOB actually has this Elevate program to help the employees, right, with the digital, the AI capabilities that's needed to thrive in this world. So again, now we are very proud. Actually, we are called the Skills Futures Queen Bee, something that we got assigned recently. So really to help our SMEs to assess the funding and upskill them as needed, right? I think since this launch, we've garnered quite a lot of interest. I think that's a very good indication of how SMEs are ready to embark on this journey. So we're here to help them. Yeah.
Thanks, Alvin. I think it's heartening to hear the sort of the breadth and the depth of sort of support and the collaboration between industry and government in sort of driving responsible AI adoption in Singapore.
If I were to chime in here a little bit as well, to help to consolidate some of the points that have been highlighted. So totally agree with what Evans as well as what Alvin has highlighted. Essentially, I think in order to actually turbocharge, right, our SMEs with the AI capability as well as digitalization, I think there are 3 points that came out. Right? I think first of which is coaching. Right? I think SMEs do need help. Right, they need beyond awareness. Right, there's a need for some guidance when it comes to utilization of the tools as well as the technology available and accessible. And then the second point is with regard to building confidence. I think Alvin also brought that up as well. How can we inculcate the knowledge as well as the empower SMEs to be able to deploy, right, quick wins, right, as well as their first projects. And last but not least, and there's also another term that struck me quite strongly, is this notion of self-sustaining competency and capability, right? So beyond the tools, beyond the initial experiments, POCs, up to the point of deployment, I think the competencies to be able to sustain and grow with AI will be equally important.
Yeah.
So clearly now has moved on to this topic of addressing what are some of the key challenges and risks, right? We see in adopting AI. My perspective is that just to add to the what has been already brought up is insufficient just to look at the drivers of AI adoption, mainly whether you have the right use case, right? Whether you have the right talent in place, etc. It's also very important to make sure the underlying foundation, i.e., you have the right and robust digital resilience, right? Otherwise, you can innovate for all you like. You will end up in the case of like a house of cards. You have lots of sprinkling of AI experiments and POCs, but unable to transition meaningfully into production. Right, we have been sort of also trying to understand the AI landscape, right? And we've been surveying companies globally, right, as well as government agencies from various countries, right? And we found that more than 80% of the survey respondents, right, fall into this category which we call AI dust. Right, if you have a 2x2 sort of visualization, right, where one axis is around AI adoption, right, and another axis around digital resilience, right, we found that many of the companies are landing up in relatively low AI adoption because of inability to go into transition into production, and they almost certainly correspond to having low levels of digital resilience. That means they haven't made the corresponding investment in strengthening their digital foundation, right? And this doesn't mean only cybersecurity, right? It also means about data governance, right? We all know how important data is as the fuel, right, to power your AI models, right, and create a moat around your AI capabilities, right? But it also includes things like operational responsiveness. Right, you don't want your chatbot to be suffering from outages, right? Whenever, for example, when it's already handling hundreds and not thousands of customer queries, right? You also do not want the recovery time, right, to be too long as well. I mean, sure, it will go down at some point in time, right? But you cannot have prolonged periods of outages that will affect your whole customer experience altogether. Right, so we've been trying to sort of analyze as well, how do companies get out from this AI dust quadrant, right? To move to the what we call the top right quadrant, where you have high levels of adoption and high levels of digital resilience, right here. And it's not so easy because the whole AI movement, AI landscape is also changing rather rapidly, right? And many companies really are struggling a bit, right? But for us, the sort of insight from all these sort of research and study has been, if you want to do well in AI adoption, there is no way, from not investing in strengthening your digital resilience. Yeah. What has been your experience like, Alvin, in UOB?
So I think, we work with a lot of SMEs, and I think it typically carries quite a consistent theme, right? So you hear about challenges like a lack of AI literacy. So SMEs just don't know where to start, right? Uncertainties about the ROI, right? So will the investment really pay off, right? Limited internal resources, right? So both in terms of time and also talent, right? And I think increasing to your point, Xiao Wei, so increasing concerns we've heard around handling of sensitive customer data, business data, cybersecurity, governance, and all of that, right? And that's need for human oversight. So I think that theme seems to be coming up more strongly as well. So at UOB, obviously, what we've done is to take a more multi-pronged approach to help SMEs. So for example, in terms of upskilling, so we run a lot of workshops. I think we ran over 100 workshops now. And the feedback has been quite positive. So I think over 90% of the participants now say that they are more confident about using AI. So plug and play tools. So we do offer SMEs no-code, low-code solutions, working with our tech partners. So again, the idea there is to deliver quick wins without sort of needing a lot of deep technical expertise. And the third part, to Xiao's point about mentorship and advisory, right? So we actually have skills managers, we have industry mentors that provide very personalized guidance just to tailor to each of the SMEs journey, just to help them along, right? And of course, one of the things we did recently, and this is more internal, which is more the Innovation Academy. Again, this is a one-stop digital learning portal for our staff, because we do recognize the need to enable our staff to upskill. But it's something that we are thinking of sort of exposing it to our clients as well, to help SMEs to build all this stronger AI literacy and foundational knowledge. So I think this is, together, of course, the AI Ready program that we spoke about, I think this is all designed to help SMEs on this journey.
Evan's hearing all these sort of programs, and initiatives banks have, governments have, right? Is there anything that sort of you feel is still lacking? Or the fact that it's so many things out there is kind of bewildering, also don't know how to choose?
I think the messaging to SMEs, I mean, there's a lot of infrastructure in place, like IMDA, UOB, you guys have very good programs in place. I think from an SME's perspective, especially from an SME management or boss perspective, obviously during the day you have a lot of things that you need to run. So you are literally left with not a lot of bandwidth to think about digital adoption. How do you increase your productivity by considering new long-term solutions to try to put in place in your organization? And for SMEs, typically we are run on a rather lean kind of manpower team. So if I were to put adoption, you appoint a POC in charge. This person really does need to perform on top of their BAU responsibilities, this entire learning and making sure that this is implemented throughout the organization. That's why SMEs do take a lot longer to adopt AI, because operationally, resources-wise, we are a bit more limited. But I do see that, just that these infrastructures in place, it will take a while for SMEs to come in, and the education will take a while. Some of the SMEs are going to move towards it faster because some are just more risk takers, early adopters. Others are going to follow suit when the threshold, like most of the, like 25-30% of the SMEs do that, they see everyone doing it, they'll just kind of go along as well. So I think that maybe something else that can help would be having like more outreach and more targeted messaging towards SMEs to tell them that, hey, because you get bombarded with a lot of information at one go, like something more targeted, like okay, for operational productivity, you can, or for say for example for logistics, we do logistics and delivery for our customers. So something like using AI and traffic monitoring for route planning. So things like that. If the solution is much more targeted, then as a boss, when you see the EDM or the email that comes in, you know exactly what to do, rather than something very generic, like the programs are more generic. It's AI implementing to improve cost and productivity efficiency. You just get lost when you're looking at it. So something more targeted towards the SMEs.
Yeah, that's great feedback. That's why we have you here, right? To sort of ground us. But I think what you are doing, right, is a very good sort of role model as well, right? For other SMEs. As you say, many SME tauges are very busy, but you have another example, right, of a SME very similar to them that has adopted AI. That is actually a very inspiring and powerful, catalyst, right, for them to also undertake the AI transformation journey.
Thank you. But I must say that this journey is not without its cost, because for us, this AI journey, there's a lot of trial and error. And unlike bigger organizations where you can develop AI solutions, you can test them out in a sandbox and make sure that they're 99% effective before you put it in place. Most of the time, prepping the AI tool to make sure that before you implement it, that runway may not be as long. It may be maybe a month, maybe 2 months. And then when you implement it, there will expectedly be disruptions to your existing operations. And I think most SMEs do not anticipate that, because, they... When they run through the simulations of scenarios, maybe there are 10 of it, but life comes along. There will be circumstances where it's out of these 10 scenarios that you've put inside your AI tool. So I think that's also something that SMEs need to understand and be prepared for, rather than be caught off guard.
I was going to add on to what Xiaowei has mentioned, that I think whether it's large enterprises or SMEs, I think one of the most critical component in adopting digitalization and AI and the latest emerging technology is the CEO, right? So I think we really need a lot of championship through the CEO in order to drive a transformation business-wide. So I think Evans is a perfect example of that CEO, right? I think without that championship, without that understanding and the desire to want to push the organization with digital as well as AI, I think that impact would not be able to be propagated throughout the enterprise.
Yep.
So is there one piece of advice that you would give to your fellow SME tauges, right, on partaking on this AI journey?
Well,
What would that one piece of wisdom be?
okay, so I would see AI as a tool. So imagine you hire someone that is new, that has no experience at all. So I think SME CEOs probably need to have that mindset when you're adopting AI. So someone that's new, you need to invest in time, effort, resources, finding the mentors and the POCs to guide that AI tool, like how you would with a completely new hire. And with that, when you put the AI tool into production or into the daily operations, you need to have oversight over this tool. You cannot be you cannot let go completely, because if like a new hire, you do need to have oversight over this new hire when they're doing anything. So I think gradually, as you get more and more accustomed to what the outputs of the AI is, then you can gradually have lesser and lesser oversight over this tool. So I think that is the mindset I think most management should have when they're adopting these AI tools.
I think for me, it's important to start with the purpose and not shoot for perfection. I think recognizing that AI is a journey requiring time, patience, and commitment. And you should focus on solving a real business problem. It can be anything, right? Improving customer engagement, reducing manual work, and it can be anything. But just don't wait for the perfect solution, because there's never one, right? Don't wait for full readiness, right? And tap on essentially the ecosystem of players. It can be UOB, it can be tech partners, it can be IMDA. There are actually quite a lot of grants out there. So I think it's more a mindset that just make sure that you're out there and get tested and just get moving. I think that would be my advice for SMEs.
Yeah, another wise words about mindsets as well. Johnson, anything?
My sentiments are similar to what Evans as well as Alvin has highlighted. I think essentially it's about starting nimble, staying curious, as well as thinking broadly. So have a clear problem in mind, right? Be it about cutting admin costs or improving customer support and customer experience. Try out an AI solution that solves it. Then Alvin mentioned, don't wait to be perfect. Test, learn, and most importantly, build confidence. And more significantly as well is to keep a progressive mindset. Okay, because AI is fast evolving, right? Changing very rapidly. So those who explore early will tend to be able to unlock the gains from growth and productivity. So the goal is not so much about adopting AI for the purpose of AI, right? It's really about how we can make it work for your business.
I think many of you will agree with me that if I say that current wave of AI is like the internet moment in a way, right? Where it's ushering in sort of new ways of doing things, right? Not just doing the same thing with less resources, but actually enabling us to do new things that we couldn't do before, right? Totally agree with that sort of perspective, that it is important to start small, right? But start now, right? And start small doesn't necessarily mean doing it on some peripheral, a trivial kind of use case. It is important to start with the right purpose, which is you should always focus on what is your sort of core business process, right? Because this AI, when applied correctly, right, could actually have very significant upsides yes, there could be some disruption, right, to the current way of operating, right? Yes, there could be I guess impact and some disrupting the workforce, right, in a non-trivial way. But in the long run, right, this could be a new engine of growth for your whole business.
Yep.
Right. I think we are living in indeed very, very exciting times here. Right. And who knows how it will look like in the next few years, right? Let alone 10 years from now, right? Where AI is even more sort of embedded in how we work, live, and play. You have any sort of perspectives about this new wave of interest around agentic AI? Where we are now on agentic AI is somewhat like when ChatGPT was first released in November 2022, right? There's a lot of hype, there's a lot of talk, right? But what does it really could do, right? Obviously there are certain parties that will be talking up its potential, right? But for practitioners on the ground and business owners, right? It could be a lot of hype. Yeah. What's your perspective on it?
So it's something that UOB is looking at, right? So and in fact, Gen AI seems to be a bit passé now. Everybody talks about agentic these days, but I think I'm not entirely sort of convinced that people have done this at production scale. Especially the technology is mature, but clearly it's the direction is that we need to be experimenting and making sure that we have agentic AI, as part of our sort of core tech delivery, right? So I think I think there are a lot of challenges in terms of agentic AI, because imagine there are a lot of different layers of agents, your utility agents and orchestrator agents. So making sure that the agents themselves, the goals, the planning, and sort of what the agent is tasked to do versus a systemic agentic architecture where there are little handouts between the different agents, how they kind of orchestrate and coordinate each other. So I think the technology itself could actually introduce a lot of fault lines. So I think it's a bit more challenging than Gen AI itself, right? So that's one. But assuming that agentic AI comes to pass, right? I think it also means that a lot of jobs will actually be disrupted, right? So we were thinking, for example, let's say AML KYC, maker checker roles, and if I use agentic AI, essentially to search the web, to pull data from my bank, systems, for example, and create that report, let's say a source of wealth report, for example, effectively I may not need my maker anymore. Right? So what does it mean for the makers on the ground today? They're actually doing this report. So there's a lot of upskilling, retraining, repurposing of jobs that potentially needs to happen. So I think there are actually deep implications from a sort of labor force point of view, right? Assuming the technology really comes to pass 2-3 years down the road. Yeah, so that's my take on agentic AI for now.
Yeah, nice. I believe that it is at the moment overhyped, right? Not all workflows can be agentified or should be agentified, right? You're right. There could be adverse impact if not due consideration is given, right, to what impact it could create on the workforce here. But that said, when applied correctly, right, the societal impact could be very significant. Humans, right, can not handle some of the complexities that comes with the scale, right? But certainly AI can, right? The challenge is always about accountability, right? And we see sort of that with, I guess, autonomous vehicles, right? For the longest time, right? The technology has already been there, right, and mature, right? But what is sort of impeding is sort of mainstream adoption. The legal and regulatory sort of implications are very profound, right? So agentic AI will create some of these dilemmas again, right?
And it's not just the existing stuff. So I think the other group that I sort of worry about is the fresh graduates, right? So obviously all this new technology coming in, who's going to give them a chance to really learn on the job, so to speak, right? And actually we're quite thankful to IMDA. Actually we launched this Center of Excellence with IMDA last year, and it was designed to actually help the fresh graduates, give them a chance sort of to quickly compress their learning time, but also give them a job up front, right?
Yeah.
So they actually become real data practitioners. I think it's important that we work together and make sure that we give all our young people a chance to make sure that they can transition in the workforce. If not, they will be sort of left behind in this whole technology evolution.
I see we have moved up in terms of the sophistication of the AI that we were talking about earlier, right? So this is the agentic AI. I think the talk the town, and I think to a certain extent is I think Xiaowei mentioned that it's a little bit of a hyped up as well. But I think moving away from the workforce perspective and then shifting focus onto the enterprises. I think Xiaowei also have mentioned that a little bit as well. I do think that agentic AI and advanced AI capability when it comes to automating workflows as well as even in augmenting human decision making up to the point of execution, right? It does unlock some value, real value, right? I think most importantly it is about being how you scale it across the entire business, right? Whether it's in terms of customer support, right, to new market expansion, how you're able to use it to help drive efficiency, right, in an appropriate fashion. I think if we're able to harness that in an effective way, strike a right balance, right, between the workforce as well as the enterprise focus, I think this agentic AI has that opportunity to build a competitive advantage, right, for companies and enterprises that adopt them early as well.
Yeah. In a place where in Singapore, right, where we're so manpower constrained, right? Actually, AI, if used properly, whether agentic or any other sort of forms of AI, can actually really increase our capacity, right here. But generally the way we look at the impact of AI is through again. I mean, this betrays my consulting background. Another 2x2, right? On one axis is capability, on the other axis is capacity, right? AI can definitely extend capacity, but AI can also enhance and bring new capabilities to the table as well, right? So back to your call center, the same, the same workforce, right? It can be sort of with AI, right, handle a lot more calls because some of the post-call work, like summarizing the call, can all be automated away, right? The transcripts are all done automatically as well, right? But AI also has multilingual capabilities, right? With the multilingual capabilities, the same workforce, you may not need to offshore it or have a call center in every country, right? Because you now can use AI's multilingual capabilities. Right, and it's when you combine that enhanced capability and increased capacity, that's where AI moves from just automation to transformation, I believe. Yeah, right. So AI when leveraged, is going to be a very powerful driver of societal advancements, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Since we are on a roll, I would like to move this conversation a notch higher, right?
Wow.
To the next
What's
level
next?
of sophistication. Just maybe perhaps Xiaowei as well. What are your thoughts on, as well as Alvin and Evans? What about vibe coding, right, which is the next level right now? I mean, in our prior conversations, we were talking about how AI can help augment enterprises and augment our workforce. What about vibe coding with regards to the future of coding, programming, and development?
Yeah.
Especially Xiaowei.
Actually, I will respond that. Yeah. For me, vibe coding is actually more an offshoot of the Gen AI capabilities.
Yeah.
Right. When Gen AI came out, one of the killer apps currently identified was really in transforming the whole software delivery lifecycle. Right, and vibe coding is just a form of a practice of using Gen AI to write code. I do think it is going to be highly positive impact democratizing coding. Right, now you don't need a professional coder, right, to go and write simple apps for you. Right, you don't need that much. Even for a professional coder, right, the effort required to migrate things from COBOL to Java is much more straightforward and simpler, right? Here, so I do think that we are going to see a fundamental shift in the software engineering paradigm as a result of these kind of AI tools. Now, are these AI tools sufficiently robust and accurate enough? Given the sort of infinite software development or use cases out there, right? I would say that you probably get to about 80% or 90% there, right? You still need that human creativity, human agent right at the end, right? To to make sure that it's asking the right questions, right? And, you know, and bring enough sort of contextual information to bear on the software delivery, right? A lot of this AI things, don't have enough sort of background information, right? To help you sort of to do away with a human being, right? That's my point of view. I'm not sure whether.
So I definitely agree. So I've been sort of vibe coding for a while now, and I agree. I think it's getting much better. So I think 80-90% is definitely there, right? So I think I do a lot of code in C, and actually it's very good at that, right? So I think it's just the last mile where I think the final last mile integration, maybe just pulling the codes together as a system. I think that's where you still need the humans. I totally agree with you. I think you would democratize how software engineering, how coding is done in enterprises, right? So a lot of my analysts, so to speak, they're not hardcore coders, but of course they use SQL, they use SAS codes and all that, right? So in future, it's just going to be interacting in English form, right? So any sort of analyst can actually start to code, so to speak, in different sort of languages. And I think that's already something that we're seeing in the enterprise. And I think that's going to be a huge productivity sort of leveler, right? So I think it's actually a good thing, actually. So I think even universities, I think there's a big debate as to whether we allow students to start using this. I almost think you have to, right? I mean, that's the future of your workplace, you know?
Well, it's like, when the calculator came about, right?
Exactly.
You know?
Right? Now you don't make people use calculators, you can't be, right? So I think that's the future, unfortunately. Yeah.
I think for SMEs wise, by the time the solution of vibe coding kind of trickles down, it really will help SMEs, because I think a lot of software adoption, even just adopting any kind of generic software, there's a lot of coding that's required, and SMEs generally do not have this kind of expertise to customize a particular software or even our online store to exactly the way we want it, unless we get somebody outside to come in, which then for SME is a lot of time and a lot of money that's spent. So when the solution actually comes down available for SMEs to use it easily, I think it will be a game changer.
Yeah, and actually a lot of this technology is embedded within the integrated development. So if you go VS Code, for example, Copilot is there, the autocompletes are there. So it's all there, right? So you almost can't not use it.
True,
you just have to use it.
Enterprises do have some concerns about, the security aspect of it. The codes being shared.
So we need the government to have this local instance.
That's right. Yeah, in fact, in NCS, we built our own sort of local tooling, right? That can be used on-prem, right?
Correct,
so that
exactly.
The clients don't have to worry about data or code being sent across the internet to some unknown servers.
Yeah.
In my opinion, this is also a healthy situation even for coders and programmers. Reason being that this also allows our developers and coders to think at a different level, right? One notch up. Right, to adopt a more systems level thinking when it comes to assembling your code, comes to connecting and orchestrating different components in a software development life cycle. And that of course will help to make the whole process of building applications, software more efficient, more robust, and more robust as well, and responsible and inclusive.
Yeah, I think it definitely the whole software engineering practice is changing, right? Previously, people take 80% of the time to sort of code and then 20% of the time to test. And what's going to happen now is that 20% of the time will be spent on coding and coming out, standing out something very quickly, and then 80% of the time doing adjustment and testing it and making sure validating it against
and possibly
your business case.
Planning and architecture as well.
So back to your point of moving one notch up. In my opinion, one notch up for AI is in the area of physical embodied AI. Right? The realm of robotics, when the AI steps up from cyber domain into the physical domain. That I think is very hard. Right? Today. Right? But it will come. Eventually. And yet another notch up will be when quantum computer comes mainstream, and together with AI, that will usher you, maybe much closer to AGI.
I think for quantum, there's something more fundamental than using quantum for AI, right? It's about how do you ensure that we are how can our systems remain to be secure, right, in the quantum age?
Post-quantum safety is a big topic.
Right.
So it could be another IT 2000 moment. Right here. Good for whenever it's a problem like that, and it's good for the IT industry. To come in solve for. Right. Thank you for the exciting conversations we had just now. I hope all of you, including our listeners, enjoy it as much as I do. Right? AI is a fascinating topic, and it continues to evolve. And I'm quite sure, when we have another chance to talk about it, right, sometime in the future, right, we'll be able to share even more exciting stories with all of you.